You were right on the road. Put up a new fence and also try to hide some of the view on the lower edge of it because, who wants to see the cars that are parked there? So anyway, and we have basically completed those three goals. Okay, now why we're here tonight is what happens next. Okay, we over the 3 years we have received over $10,000 because of the grant money from the town and so on. We have spent over 90 or $9,000. So we have about, probably $1,000 left in the account. Um, and we have someone scheduled to mow it 2 more times this summer. But then what happens, in the coming years? We can't do the responsibility to pay for everything, the, person to mow it and keep, the limbs picked up and whatever. So we're coming here tonight to try to see if there was anything that the town, the county, any group could help us with. We talked to the Boy Scouts, we talked to the Historical Society, and they're all saying, "Oh yeah, well we can maybe help, whatever." But
We're talking about ongoing maintenance.
ongoing maintenance.
Responsibility, you're ready to hand it back to the town.
Yeah.
Yes,
You've
and since
explained
you
this
have
to me
annexed
before.
the cemetery now, it is
Yes.
in
It
town.
is in town.
Yes.
And the house across the street. I had Mr. Smith, who lives down toward the creek on Whistler, come up to me this afternoon and said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I'm taking pictures and so on." And he said, I love what you've done here. But he said, like, who's keeping this up? I said, I don't know.
Right.
Now, the rains in April washed out what the parking area that we had. And we have Mr. Schaefer, Dennis Schaefer. He is coming in the next few days and putting in a 15-inch pipe. It's going to be 10 feet long so that we can drive a mower in there right now. Right now, we can't get across the ditch. It's about this deep. You have to leap to even get into it. So anyway, we have here for you, there's people that are buried in that cemetery that really started this town. The hunters, the, what was the other name? Buzzards and so on. We ran off a copy of the cemetery plots. Now, different groups have worked on this in the past. A man named Larry Davis, who worked with Greenway and so on, he kept the cemetery up until about 10, 15 years ago. And it was just too much for him and his wife. So, there's a lot of people that are interested in this cemetery. But anyway.
Excuse me, I can explain what I've handed out to you. What I've handed out to you is the work done by Austin Hoppermill, who was an Eagle Scout back in, he came before the council back in 2000, and he did this work. And basically, he identified with the map that you see where the numbers are. He identified, and then these numbers correspond to those little numbers on the map. So that tells you where these people are buried. And as you look down through here, I mean, he can tell you what you can see. He found stones, and sometimes some of those stones could have been markers for a grave. But anyhow, he's identified, and you'll see Hunter, you'll see Kearns, you'll see Buzzard. There are just different people buried there who were people who began with the town. But also following up back in, oh geez, I don't know if any of you remember Fred Newborough, and I've been here long enough. I knew Fred Newborough. And anyhow, he wrote an article back in the Warm Springs Echoes back in 1986, talking about the history of the Old English Cemetery, or the Old English Graveyard. And evidently, that was, he said, 111 years ago, from 1985. So now we're about 151 years ago. that, there was an agreement made that before Greenway would be opened, the town council at that time agreed to upkeep the Old English Cemetery because there was a fear at that time that if Greenway opened, the Old English Cemetery would be neglected. And so it evidently that has come true, and that was pretty much what his article, and I can give you a copy of that, talks about, that they were promised that both would be maintained so that people accepted the move. And I know those were your predecessors, but there was an agreement one time. And I know everything's hard to do and things have changed. But anyhow, so that's kind of, we wanted to give you that information and kind of tell you where we are. And also we realized and appreciated the Morgan Messenger did a nice article on the walk through town and coming down by that cemetery. And that was great because it is a nice place to go see. And as Gail mentioned, Dennis Schaefer, we're going to be paying him out of that extra we have to come in and put a drain pipe in and make it so that people can get in there and walk. It's still treacherous to walk, and but it does have a lot of history with it. And as you can tell, Gail and I and many of our other members are older, and we really, if it's going to be maintained, need to have younger people in there. And the Boy Scouts that Mike Purdy works with, they've been in there once. And they did a lot of work for us. And they're interested in going back, but they're limited as to when they can go. Of course. But they are still interested in the project.
And I had contacted the teen court too. And this was probably a year ago, and had one fellow come and, I had him taking down vines off of something. And after 1 hour, he said, I don't want to do this again, and he never would come back again. So, we're limited in, what we can do. I brought this, I started the first day, the first picture in 2022. And the last picture in here is I took this afternoon. Okay. And I had these printed. Now in the middle, I'm going to leave this here and you can look at it and I'll pick it up at the front office like tomorrow. I put in here what the old German cemetery looks like with its sidewalk and, markers and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's needed, but I think at least a sign and maybe a bench and maybe some kind of a walkway going in of mulch or something that needs to be done so somebody could get in. It is treacherous walking.
Right, and it's also not clear where you're headed. When you pull up on the side and you pull up next to it, like adjacent to the new fence.
Yes.
You're not really sure where you're going. And like, where are the graves in here? They're somewhere.
Yes.
So,
It would be
some
nice to have
signage
little
would
markers
be
with some
really
names
helpful.
on or something and who the person was and date. Now, the chain is all the way across from one end to the other, but right where we're going to put this pipe in, the chain can be brought down and we can leave it down for people to walk in there. So that's where a sign needs to go or whatever. That was probably the flattest area of the whole, because it slopes upward.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we just wanted to say what we've done and, it's kind of out of our hands anymore.
Yeah, probably, this has been a 30-year thing. In 1996, the governor had a program called Homecoming 96, and it was West Virginians come home, and every town was to pick a project. I picked the Old English Cemetery, and that's when all this work was done. But it has really, it's been hit and miss. Larry Davis did a wonderful job.
Yes, he did.
Many years.
And
They're
Dorita.
now over 80.
Yeah.
So we do need to figure out, because one of the names here, Nicholas Orrick, is our Revolutionary War patriot. So we have a Revolutionary War patriot buried there. So it is something that we need to pay attention to, but it's, it's a struggle. Right? It's a struggle.
I see all these ladies staring at me. That's very reassuring. And I have two knots on my head, by the way, and they weren't caused by my wife or a constituent.
Yeah.
Ceiling 6 foot, mayor 6'3", and that gives you that result. But Gail, the chain fence around the cemetery, is that going to be reinstalled? Is that
No,
part
that
of?
belongs
No.
to the owner of the property, who is not the auto repair place. Somebody owns all the property on the lower side of it, and the fence is on his property. But what we have done, we had some money, is we had somebody come in with a rototiller and go along that fence, rototill, and then mulch it. And
Oh, okay.
I live on a farm that has a lot of woods and stuff. I have holly trees and white pine and stuff coming up that are like this tall. You know, I will plant them along there and try to make a natural hedge. Maybe the garden club or the master gardener could help with some donations to kind of hide that view down there.
Sure.
But, you know, these are all little things that can be done that don't cost a whole lot of money. But, you know, we need manpower and whatever.
Now, the folks that were cutting that grass for you, you were paying them to cut it, were they doing that voluntarily?
I have a handyman who works for me on my farm. Okay, he does cemeteries. He's contracted the cemeteries in Cumberland. So on his day off, he did all the clearing of everything in that cemetery. He cut it down, I dragged it out. He cut it down, I dragged it out. And he's the one that has mowed it. We have enough money in our account for him to come in twice more and mow. And he's only charging us, what, $13 an hour? And he brings his own equipment, his own gas and everything. He's doing it as a gift.
Okay, would he, if he was to be paid, would he continue to cut it next year?
I don't know.
Okay, can
I
you,
could ask
can
him.
you get that information to Sharon so we can speak
Yes.
with him directly?
Yes.
And see if we can make that work?
Well,
If you're pleased with the job that he's doing and.
Oh, he's terrific. Or I wouldn't have him on my farm. So,
Okay.
I think Sharon already has that information on the invoices.
Oh, I do.
Yes,
You have
yeah.
that?
Oh, that's right, okay.
His name is Michael Duncan.
Michael Duncan.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
He
you.
has like a landscaping, he calls it a landscaping business. Cause he
Yeah.
weed whacks and roundups and everything for me.
The work that you're doing is important, certainly not
Yeah.
glamorous, but historically speaking, it's important. And for a town of 800 to have a responsibility for maintenance of 3
I know.
cemeteries is a challenge, a
Yes.
financial challenge. Obviously, we're going to honor the good work that you ladies have done, and we'll discuss it in Public Works, obviously. And,
Right,
um,
right.
Yeah.
I think that, to make that fit.
Yeah.
I want to say, first of all, thank you to the DAR because you have done years worth of amazing work in the English Cemetery
Yeah.
and elsewhere with the various projects that you've taken on. And I just want you to know how much we appreciate all your hard work. I really love that we were able to cap your efforts with the grant money from
Oh, that
SHPO.
was
That
wonderful.
gave you the runway
Yes.
to do the scope of
Right.
work that you were hoping to do, and now it's done and it looks great. These are great pictures that I'll share with my colleagues. I just want to make sure that my colleagues hear you loud and clear, and I'm just going to take a moment to paraphrase what you're communicating so delicately and delightfully, which is that you're done. And it is town property, and while you have been amazing, over-the-top stewards of everything that has been involved with that property for years now, you'd like to give the present back to us. And so you're giving us that notice with some runway, with a couple more mows on your
Mhm.
docket,
Yeah.
and other things and suggestions for other things we could do to improve it. So I just want us to be clear about what these ladies are so politely reminding us of today, because we've had these conversations offline while I've been working on the grant with you, and you've made that clear.
But I have 4 notebooks full of information about that cemetery. And, you know, so I would be glad in the next year or 2 or whatever to be kind of a resource. I can't do the physical work anymore, but I can be the resource and
Of
share
course.
things with and help, you know. And Larry Davis said he would help locate, you know, graves and that kind of stuff, but not on a major basis.
Of course, no, completely understood, and thank you also for your willingness to play a transition role in the transfer of stewardship of that piece of property.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay.
all of you.
thank you.
Good work, ladies. Doug?
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank the council and viewers. Let me speak today. The reason I'm here, I lived here in Morgan County all my life, and I live on 104 Market Street. Lived up there 50 years. And my wife and I come down on Sundays after church and park our vehicle, mostly, probably 90-some% of the time, in front of the Morgan Messenger on the east side, on the sidewalk. Okay? And we walk downtown. She goes for a little walk. I just stand there. She has a garden there at the square and kind of look at it a little bit. Well, Sunday, this past Sunday at 11:15, I walk up to the car and I have a ticket. I had the ticket with me. And so I took her home and I saw a young man walking around with a badge. So I thought, well, maybe he's the one that put the ticket on my car. So I found him near the square and I said, did you put a ticket on my car? He says, yes. You're parked on the sidewalk and you're parked on the yellow curb. I said, well, I don't think I'm parked on a yellow curb because it hadn't been painted probably for years and years and years. But I do park in front of the Morgan Messenger along with a lot of the people that lives in this town because they pick up their newspaper. And they park there for a couple minutes. We were probably there 20, maybe 25 minutes at the most. So I was pretty upset when I had a ticket, the first one I ever got in town. The first one. I try not to park in the roadway like a lot of people do, especially on Green Street and Mercer Street. So I talked to the gentleman and I said, I'm not very happy that I got a ticket and maybe I'm on the sidewalk, but I'm not gonna park in the road with like a lot of people on Green Street. And I said, I'll probably just let you tear this ticket up. He said, no, you got a ticket, $30 ticket, and the only thing was punched on this ticket was parked on sidewalk. It didn't say anything about a yellow curb. It's not a curb. It's not a raised curb. That town belongs to Division Highways. I worked for them for 38 and a half years. I know a good bit about the town because I've always tried to help these three counties. Okay, so I said, well, would you go up to Green Street with me, and I'm going to show you cars parked on the roadway, maybe a foot, 2 foot, on the travel portion, which that road goes north and south. I use that road to get my house up to my house 3 blocks up on Ewan Street. That's a bus route too. You got to zigzag around to get through that road. There's cars parked on the sidewalk. And I asked the gentleman, I said, since you give me a ticket, are you going to give those people a ticket for being on the sidewalk or in the roadway? He said, no. I said, well, I can't accept that. And I won't. So I went down Monday morning and talked to Mr. Buzzard, Todd Buzzard, who's the editor of the paper, and explained to him what happened. He said, oh, Doug, the place is here. People park here all the time. I said, I know. So maybe I'm parked on the sidewalk, but I'm not parked in the road. And I'm not parked on a yellow curb, a raised curb. The curb is not raised. It's the same elevation of the roadway, the Division Highways, Pennsylvania Road. Okay, so then I dropped that and I come in here Monday morning and said I'd like to talk to the chief of police. So we made an appointment. He met me this morning up there at the flower garden there at the intersection, and we talked about it for a good little bit. So I come here today just to see what the town is going to do. Are they going to make that sidewalk illegal to park on? But there's other people on sidewalks. And I asked the gentleman, I said, why did you give me a ticket? And he said, I'm not, I said, are you going to give people a ticket here for being on the sidewalk or on the road? He said, no. That's discrimination. If you're going to give out tickets on Sundays, give them out to everybody that you walk by. And he walked by there. He met me out there. And I just don't agree with that at all. And Todd, I told Todd Buzzard, I said, I'll let you know what happens. And I talked to the chief of police today, and that's why I'm here today. I don't know if the town's going to have that curb painted yellow, since it is part of the Division of Highways roadway, and what they might do, because Todd would like to know himself.
I'll tell you what, Doug, well, first of all, we know each other, and thank you for.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you
You're a
letting
good
me come
man,
in.
and I appreciate you coming up here. We're gonna discuss it at Public Works and also in our public safety meeting, because clearly something has to be done to recognize that either as a loading area or as an area where you cannot park on a consistent basis.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's the conversation that we need to have internally. You know, as far as our parking enforcement officer doing his job, he does his job, he does it very well. I can't call out someone that works for the town and is doing a great job. You know, I also understand some of that parking issue up there on Green, and we can talk and.
It's
talk
very,
to the
very
chief.
dangerous.
It is.
This children gets off the bus right there.
I agree. I agree, and, you know, we're somewhat limited on, you know, law enforcement, you know, in the town, just the chief here working in town by himself.
I
But
understand.
everything you mentioned, we will address.
Okay.
I think, you know, a conversation around making that, you know, a loading, 10-minute parking or a
Right.
loading area makes the most sense, but we have to spend some time and plan that out and make sure we do it right. I'm not crazy about the brick being there. I like to see it, because you just still don't want people walking on that side of the street and someone pulling up to unload. So it does need signage and maybe a pad there of some kind, but we will address that.
I appreciate it.
And then I would recommend coming to court. I know that's not pleasant, takes up some of your time, and then explaining the situation to the judge when he's here as well. 'Cause I can't.
Well, I'll
I
tell
can't-
you right up front, I don't agree with what you're thinking. You know, you're thinking, I'm gonna have to go to the court with my time. And this gentleman did, how come that he picked me out and the other people on Green Street on the sidewalk did not get a ticket? Explain that to me.
Well, I can't. I can't. I don't have an answer to that. I'm not inside that person's mind.
I just disagree with it. I'll tell you right up front, I really do. It's the first ticket I ever got.
Yeah.
In Berkeley Springs, I've lived up there 50 years and done some things for the town. But to pick out one person, and there's other people that parks over to get to the water, and I agree with all that, that's a good thing for the town. But there's a lot of people park there on the yellow, and I know you can't be everywhere at one time. But I disagree, I'm getting a $30 ticket. If I don't pay it in 30 days, it goes to 60. I'm not gonna pay it in 30 days. I can tell you that right up front.
When is your court date? Is there a court date on your ticket?
No, I
It'll
have
be
to wait. It
October
has to give it to
15th.
me after 30 days.
No, the price will stay at $30, Doug, because once you've come in and you've said you wanted to come to court, the price will stay the same. But the next court date is October the 15th.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be a lot more fine, I'm sure.
No,
No.
no.
No, we're not. Doug, again, I think you're bringing up a very valid point.
Thank
And that's clearly an unmarked spot. We will address that. I cannot litigate traffic or parking tickets in a town council meeting. Well, that's
Well-
all we'll be doing, you know. and-
What I'll do, I'll go to Mr. Buzzard, I'm gonna go to Todd, and I'm gonna say, you better tell your people when they come here 5 days a week, whatever, to pick up their newspaper, the Morgan Messenger, they may get a ticket. Now, I expect that everybody who sits there and parks there, I'll let the police department to give them a ticket. I hope so. I hope so. Because this little town is not gonna put up with that. I can tell you that right now. The Morgan Messenger is a very important part of this town. So to give me a ticket on a Sunday, I just can't agree, and I won't.
And that's fair, but every person in this community is equally important, honestly. You know, in the case that you got a ticket parking there, you know, I understand the inconvenience of that, but again, we can't litigate here in the town council meeting.
That's fine, okay. But I'll tell the council and to you as the mayor up front, I disagree.
Okay.
And I'll tell Mr. Buzzard that too.
Let me add this. I've lived here for 30 years and I park where you park every Wednesday to get my paper.
A lot of people do.
I know. And that's why what they're saying, the 10-minute, you can get in and get out and do that if they make that designation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so
And what
I understand.
it's been the unofficial designation
Yeah.
of that particular stretch that you could pull up, you could park, you weren't there forever, it was more short term. But that needs to be clarified, there needs to be signage, that's a public safety thing, and that's what our mayor is talking about. We can't remediate this overnight. The Public Safety Committee will take it up and make sure that that curb, if we're gonna change the designation, it's changed. Absolutely appreciate your point of view that you shouldn't have gotten that ticket. The judge is the person who needs to hear that and toss out your ticket.
Okay, but there's not a yellow curb there, as the gentleman mentioned. And
Understood.
one other thing, I'd like to know what the town's gonna do. And I talked to Rick, he come up and met me at my house, we talked about what the roads are gonna happen, what's gonna happen. The town's gonna take care of some issues on Green Street. I think it's very, very poor of the town to put the responsibility on the driver going north or south, the people that live up there, to avoid parking on the sidewalk and the blacktop. So you need to really, I'd like to know, whenever you decide something down the
We gotta
road.
figure
what's
it
gonna
out.
happen.
In this
Just figure it out.
small town and
Yeah,
so
I
many
understand.
others, one of the problems is we have an old town with narrow streets and residents who need to park and don't always have driveways and other places to put their cars. So what, tends to happen is you have this playing chicken type of thing. Out here, Brook Street, it's a
I
whole
would
bunch
say
of
that's
streets.
very safe.
It's not very safe, but I remember, very, very distinctly, the talk of making those streets one
Yes, ma'am, I
way.
remember that.
Remember that, and I think, Green was gonna go north and Mercer was going to go south. People blew up, they did not want that, they wanted to travel both.
They were talking about Church Street, the same conversation.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember
And
that.
also, I've parked there too. I have parked there too, I know. But I stopped parking there when the Masonic Lodge paved their parking lot, because if you remember, that parking lot used to be gravelly, holes
Pretty
in it,
rough.
asphalt, concrete, it was a big mess. When they paved it, I said, I'm gonna park there now, because it's better overall. Because people do walk on those bricks, they think it's a sidewalk. So there are people that walk back and forth on there too, so I thought, if they're good enough, if they're gonna pave that parking lot, I'm gonna park on it. So that's what I do now. I know it's not right up
Yeah.
to,
Thank you, Sue.
So I'll get a
Well,
notice to say when I'm gonna go to court.
Does he get a notice here?
No, the police department Sunday, I'll call you, Doug, and take
Yes,
care of it, but normally you would go to
I
the
have
police
one-
department and set
Yes,
it
ma'am.
up.
I have one other thing. Could I pay the ticket to the fire department instead of the town?
well, that's another whole bunch.
You can ask the
Okay,
judge
I just
that.
asked.
Ask the judge.
Doug, I will guarantee you this, we will have this sorted out. You're bringing something to our attention that needs
My
clarity.
first
for
time
sure.
going to the court in Morgan County.
Well, you're coming here, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
To the
thank
town.
you for your time.
No, we'll,
Thank you, counsel.
no, thank you. Yeah, Thank you for being kind
Thank
and
you.
respectful. We'll sort it out.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay with that.
And there's that too.
That's what makes town hall meetings interesting. Doug's a good guy, and his point is valid, and we will straighten it out, and that'll be the end of it, and that's one less thing to worry about.
He is retired from the DOH and he knows his rights.
He does. You need to have friends at the DOH retired.
We need to put him on a committee.
Well, today's not a good day to ask Mary.
No, tomorrow though.
Tomorrow, I'll call. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Communications from the mayor. Day of Caring on the 9th was wonderful, and then I know that some folks noticed the gardens on Congress Street were cleaned out, and they looked wonderful. There was other work throughout the town, and that was such a remarkable day with all the work that was being done. The same day, we had 2 streets that were paved. Fairfax Street was cleaned. There wasn't a speck in the gutters on Fairfax. Today, the Public Works guys, sorry, was it today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, Public Works was working on the north end of 522, getting all the gravel scraped up. That looks great, and that's quite a work job. It was very hot. Public Works is just doing a fabulous job on that. So there were many really good things happening. I think everybody's noticing how clean and neat the street is, and it is our goal to have the cleanest and neatest town in all of West Virginia. The apple butter, of course, everybody's aware of apple butter. on the 10th through the 12th. We're still looking for some folks to help with parking cars. We need a few more folks. If we can get 3 or 4 more people, that would be great. You can just contact Sharon or let me know or Brianna know as far as that's concerned. And of course, the ladies were here. It's Constitution Week, ringing of the bells, 4 o'clock Thursday in front of the courthourhouse. So if you could make that, if you have a bell to ring.
No, Wednesday.
It's 17th.
Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Yeah. 17th.
That's right, just later. So if you could- I know some of the church bells will be ringing, and again, it's just for a full minute to honor the greatest document ever written. Thanks to the Bible.
Just saying.
First non-religious, the greatest non-religious document ever written.
There you go. There you go.
Just
Very
saying.
secular document.
On Track, I don't think Brianna's here. On Track did have a meeting. Thank you to the folks that are coming there. On Track is taking the responsibility of parking cars for Apple Butter. On Track is also working on the 250th anniversary of the town. So volunteers are always needed for that as we start to plan some events. If you can make the next meeting, it's the 9th at 4 p.m. We don't have anybody here from Rec and Parks. Planning Commission?
So as of, I checked my email last at 4:30, and as of 4:30, with the cutoff time of 5:29, Finance Committee, Public Works, Tree Board, and Trail Depot had all submitted their submissions for the Comprehensive Plan 2027 to 2037. So thank you. For those of you that haven't, please track me down. I'll be happy to sit down with you. We do have our working group every Monday. So if you want to just come in and we can talk you through it and help you through it, that's the best time. If that time isn't good for you, then pick another time.
What time on Mondays?
9 o'clock
AM.
a.m. We're here for about 2.5 hours. If I could recognize,
Sorry, Larry.
yes, sir.
We have it down here. 5. Your next meeting is,
So monthly meetings, yes.
okay.
However, every week we have our working group on Monday mornings.
On Monday.
Yeah, so that, yes, and so that's actually getting work done. So that'd be the optimum time if any of the committees want to use the resources that are available between our ears.
Okay.
Recognition, Susan submitted the train depot comprehensive plan. And Susan, if you wouldn't mind, if anybody says, hey, can I get an example? I'm going to give you Susan's because I'll hit you on a couple things since the last time. She had the source document of the mission statement, which I was happy to see in 2009, very clear of how money can happen. Again, I don't want any of you to go to jail, right? So the money part was very clear and reinforced. Tight mission statement, goal, objectives fed the goal, and the task met the objectives that met the goal. You get all that done, we got a great train depot and things are working. So again, it's supposed to be pretty simple. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to sit down with you on that.
I didn't have,
Like a page, 2 pages?
it was probably 2 pages, but he's got, several goals. You don't have to have that many goals. I think he just made spaces. Whatever goals you have is a goals you have, so.
You had 2 plus 1 standalone,
Yes, yeah. And-
2 with supported tasks and 1 standalone.
And bear in mind, it doesn't have to be perfect because this isn't gonna come out until 2027, so, I see a lot of changes happening in the next year, and so it'll all be refined, but it gives you a basis to, where do you stand now and what do you?
It's nice to have a written plan to meet the vision.
Yes.
That's it.
Honestly,
And so just in the phraseology, the goal should be enduring, right? That's the
Right.
plan for this thing. Her objectives are very good. One of them pertained to publicizing the train depot. So 1 was get a pamphlet, 2, get a series of talking tours, get posters, get signage, these kind of things. So those are very specific tasks that, like Susan said, those may get accomplished before we publish this thing, in which case I'm going to say, great job. Let's scratch that out. What else you got for me? Right. And let's lean into it again. So again, it's the methodology that I'm trying to promote is Susan's example works out great for what we're trying to accomplish.
From Larry.
Yay. You go, Susan.
I got a name for the day.
So again, please reach out to me. Best time, but we're flexible.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I'll probably come to a Monday session.
Okay.
I feel like just knocking it out in real time is probably the most
Yeah.
efficient
Yeah.
way to the finish line.
Good work, Larry. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Rail trail? What do you have for us, Steve?
First, actually, I think I sent you the people who were at the meeting on Monday,
Yes.
you know, conversation I wanted to do. And I appreciate both Greg and Susan that you helped facilitate that and get the county get folks there and all that. I think we ended up with a pretty good agreement on what is the project, all the projects, how did that line up together? And the basics of an agreement between the county and the town. How do you run a program like that that save funds and get it done right in the right sequence and manage the money the way it's got to be managed? And there was an action list in there, and I think if that's okay, I think we ought to send that to the whole council members.
Yes.
Will you send that out? Do you want me to do that?
I can send
Just
it.
forward that to them all. And I'll get it to the rest of the rail trail task force.
Thank you.
That includes folks. This probably should be a meeting on the 24th. I just won't be there. I got done what I needed done with you folks on yesterday. And we have a task to finish off the documents we put in place to see that. Any questions on that one?
Well, just for everyone that's here, that was a collaborative meeting between Morgan County officials, the commissioners, Susan and I, and Pete, at the Travel Berkeley Springs Visitor Center, and also representative for Travel Berkeley Springs was there as we kind of work on the remediation, everybody having a clearer vision of what that's going to look like, how much things cost. And now we've been sitting on this pot of money for quite some time, so the dollar doesn't spend like a dollar did 5 years ago. So we'll have some limitations on what we're going to be able to do there. But the most important thing is we're finally getting to the point where we'll see some movement in the depot lot.
You know, we should, and one of the next big steps is the town will prepare for the town solicitation to get the work done to actually remediate the brownfield that is somewhat the visible part of the depot lot, the hill and part of the parking lot. So, and I think we've got everybody on the right. The picture is the same for everybody.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. And I think that there probably will be a task force meeting. We'll have the county set it up.
Yes.
I'm not even in town or in the state that week. So I'll fix that. And I gave you all on the council a little glimpse of what we did. And that gets published on the on the town website, which is useful for everybody. On to streetscape, that's Circle for I'm still waiting for DOH to give us the dates when we'd actually get started on the design for phase 6. It's still, I'm asking some questions. There's still a possibility we may hear something on the grants that we put in October-ish timeframe. They're trying to do it, but we'll see how well. That would be nice.
And again, just for clarity, phase 6 is the Concord Street sidewalks. It's Union Street.
It's Congress and Union. This is the basic. We don't know what we can do until we get the design. It's all about money. We asked for more construction money when we put in the grant request. We'll see. But once we start the design, yes, things will have to be. My guess is every one of them had to be cut back. But we're going to preserve that rotten corner of Union and Washington Street with the bone poles and the rocks and the chance for people to fall down.
I'm gonna preserve it.
No, I'm going to preserve doing a design and getting out there.
Thank you.
Like a memorial.
Blood splattered.
Yes.
No, but that's key to the design, and if we lose anything, we won't lose that, we'll fix it.
Yeah. Well,
It's not immediate.
all this work is starting with the end in mind right now. It's that we need a walkable town from the train depot to the country and beyond. And sidewalks are the critical factor. We're working on that. Public Works has a separate plan, so it's just incredibly important in this next phase.
Yeah. And I'll stick with Rick on what happens next. And one of the things is we're gonna have a streetscape meeting on Thursday at 10 here. And a number of folks from the council are gonna be there. I hope you're gonna be there.
And afterwards, you and I are gonna discuss lights.
We're gonna look at lights. We may discuss lights during.
We can do it
Because I
during.
put the agenda on here because it's like streetscape has its eye on money in the grants, but there are other things that surround it. And of course, I noticed in the on-track thing, it started to note that also.
Mhm.
So I put a list of things that I think I want to start covering in the Streetscape Committee starting on Thursday to get input from a lot of folks. What is it? Is the program provides money to do specific things, but those things touch pieces of town,
Right.
that maybe want other things,
Right.
and there's a way to sort this out,
Yeah.
how to do it, and that's.
There's been a lot of energy applied and resources being applied. Now, is on 6, is there any lighting part of 6?
Yes, the standard package for streetscape phase is sidewalks, curbs, any ADA crossing, drainage is a big deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Congress Street.
And the lights,
Mhm.
right? We just couldn't afford the lights on Independence and Wilkes, but that was put in as a grant request for what we call phase 7.
Okay.
And we had already started thinking about Upper Wilkes and down Washington, down south on Washington toward the bank.
Good.
Down there. And we'd actually put in a design request for that under the streetscape banner, which was not rejected. So as a result, that's our first work outside the 6-block core.
Yeah.
Right? And then what Rick and I are gonna talk about, what Potomac Edison seems to be thinking might be a good idea, is a change in the streetlights.
Right.
Which would affect way past the core.
Mhm.
In other words, you can't really afford, these are very expensive, streetscape lights are very expensive, they don't get cheap, not getting any cheaper. And what Potomac Edison is they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Those lights are everywhere. And now we know we can tune them. In other words, they don't have to be all the same brightness. So we're trying out a couple of levels of lighting. They may actually be in place now. I have the chance to walk around.
Last thing I got for him was gonna be within the next 2 weeks. I don't believe it's
I
been
don't
done
think so.
yet.
But this is something that the whole town, it matters. Because we had,
It'll save a lot of money for the town.
it could, if that's the right thing to do. That's a
Right.
public works job.
Mhm.
Right.
It's not a streetscape job, it's public works, but I believe you can mesh this stuff together.
Gotcha.
I mean, I have light readings all over the place. I went over to Hancock and Red Light, have light intensity readings for the lights and all kinds of stuff like
That makes
that.
sense. We're gonna continue to add more lighting. We're gonna continue to increase your energy bill. So by switching out the bulbs makes a lot of sense. On the 5, so on the 520, on 7, Pete, on 522 South.
Yeah.
How far are you planning or thinking that we would have lights running? Are you thinking from down to where Roy's is or before
I'm
Country Inn.
the bank in the country,
the bank in the country inn?
yeah, if that's,
To CMB and country inn.
yeah. But that's something for the town to decide too.
Right.
I mean, I'm not picking this stuff up, we're making opportunities.
Sure.
And inside the Potomac Edison one, there's a fairly big opportunity, and maybe cut your whole lighting bill,
Right, sure.
and end up with Sharon not having to deal with 5 or 6 different things all around. And you can tune the lights. I've had some complaints about the lights are too bright on
Yeah.
the buildings.
Fair.
And the test ones that we've done, that we're doing, there's at least one light on, Wilkes, at corner of Independence, that will
The kid
give us a
light.
chance. And if it, and the Potomac Edison guy, he said, if it's the wrong intensity, he'll change the light. In other words, we're not fixed until you
Perfect.
decide it's fixed,
Perfect.
right? And then so, and I think, Rick, if you and I get together on this, we can get someplace. But again, it's a public works, it's a town, you guys are paying the money.
That's
Do you know how
formative.
many streetlights we have in town? Because I know Potomac Edison said they would replace every last bulb,
Yeah, they will. The question is,
which is such a savings for
with
us.
what? With what?
Right.
Right.
The color is sort of fixed. These are LEDs.
Yeah.
They come in a colored thing, which is
Yeah.
expressed in degrees Kelvin. Look at that. They're fixed and we know what they are. And you can choose a lower level in a neighborhood, a higher level on the main street, a higher level at a big intersection. And I can sort of see that over Hancock. So maybe some of you will just go walk around Hancock.
Yeah.
Maybe get arrested or something.
You're the only people on the street in Hancock.
I was the night I did it,
Mhm.
and I looked very suspicious.
Yeah.
You got a light meter in you.
That's you. I'm likely more to get arrested than you. I think I'm probably more likely to be arrested.
I'll bail you out.
Okay, I'll call you Pete.
Yeah,
It's Rick. Come down.
all right.
No, Pete, all makes sense. Thank
All
you.
right,
for
thanks.
that.
I'm sorry, I gotta run.
See you Thursday morning.
Yes, I'll be there.
All right, Madam Recorder, we're moving on to the fabulous train depot report.
Train depot, yes. Well, the news there is, I suppose you're moving forward with the HVAC and the false doors and like that to make the bag more usable, which we were able to use the other day for our meeting that just described to us. As far as the depot committee and like this, in my comp plan for the depot, the depot committee kind of changes in size as to the need. Right now, it's me and Jim Bailey. I talk to him sometimes, about depot things, but it kind of changes. But it's one of those things that constantly moves, and so there needs to be finances and money and always forward thinking with it, because someday it's going to need repainted. Someday it's going to need, and these are things that are the town's responsibility. So there does, need to be some kind of a committee and somebody looking after the building and keeping it up and like that. And we do the landscaping and everything. But it's hard to imagine what will happen in town in the next 2 years. Much less try to plan for 10 years after, but it's what we do. And so, I enjoy doing it, and I'll stick with it. It'll always be my baby. So in some way. So thank you for taking care of us.
That's it, great. All right, Landmark Commission. I know we have a lot going on with the Landmark, because we are reorganizing that group. We have some folks here. We also want to share the details on how the committee needs to be composed. Madam Recorder, would you like to share that information?
Well, the makeup of the Landmark Committee is very specific, and it's specific to state statute. And also town law taken from the state statute. We went through some real, some hard times a few years ago when council had made some changes to the law that did not comply with the state statute. So in 2022, we brought that law, we fixed those problems. And what it is with the Historic Landmark Commission is, it's to be composed of 5 members appointed by the Town of Bath Council. And the 5 members shall have demonstrated interest in or background in historic preservation or history or related disciplines, real estate or something. And 1B says the 5 members shall be appointed at a minimum of 3/5 from Town of Bath residents, with the remaining members being property owners of Bath whose principal residences is in Morgan County. So these are the rules that we have to follow when we choose anyone for this group. So what we have now, Mayor, I think we do have 2 members on. We do have Melissa, who's here this evening, and Ryan Reband. I haven't heard from either of them that they want to take off or leave or any, we haven't
heard from
received
Ryan.
anything.
Period. I haven't heard from Ryan, period.
I haven't either. We can't though assume.
Right.
So what we have is a list of really too many volunteers. What I'm thinking this evening we should do, which is great because the volunteers all can be used. They can all be, parts of this group. But we do have to have 3/5 of the committee have to live in town. Ryan Rebank no longer lives in town, so we have 1 person, and Melissa, who lives in town. So 2 other people have to be, live in town. And so we do have some,
At least two.
at least two more. Now, that's at a minimum. So we do have Priscilla Jones who has applied, and we have, Vince, Chicharrillo, Chinchillo, I always do that correctly. Amy, Shafford, and there's Vince, and John Bohr, who's the president of the Historic Society. Let's page, let's see. So we have,
You're missing one more, because Mary should be in there too.
and Mary,
Yes.
So the people who have applied who are Town of Bath residents, I believe, are still John Orr, Priscilla Jones, and Vince, correct?
Yes.
So we have those, and then we have, the two folks, you two, neither live in town. Do either of you own property in town? No, you don't own property in town. So, there we are. I think what we discussed in the finance committee meeting is that we of course do have to obey the law.
Of course.
But as far as having associate members and all these kind of subcommittees and like this, we would like to leave that up to HLC itself, because there can be all kinds of subcommittees off of them. You do have to maintain the law, but let's say for events or a particular project, or you want to do, you want to have a booth at Apple Butter, or all these things that require, yes, ma'am.
So just to clarify, how many people that live in Bath have applied?
How many have applied?
Yes.
Three.
And
And we
there's a
need five.
maximum of 5
Plus
members.
Melissa, who is currently, are you going to continue on, Melissa? What's your goal?
Sure.
Oh, okay. We didn't know, we hadn't heard from anybody. We hadn't really heard from anybody, on the historic landmarks. So that's how we got to this place.
Right.
Right. So we,
Let me make sure I have the math thing right. So then you're talking then 4 of the 5 that would be town residents. And
Yes.
Brian Rebrandt is the one that is not.
it's not.
Right.
Yeah. It's-
But the 4 out of 5 aren't breaking any of the laws of
Right,
membership by
no,
virtue
yeah.
of their credentials. So almost by default, we have to entertain their.
And in
Right.
addition to that, they do bring, each of them brings a certain skill set to
Mhm.
the organization, particularly Vince, who's in and out of every historic building in town, and
Yes.
has been forever, which is different. And John, of course, is a longstanding member of the community and knows he's a member of
President of
the.
the Historic
Historical
Society.
Society.
See, we're in a situation like this. You see this?
But we want your time and we want your talent
Right.
to come on board to also serve on the committee, because there's a lot of work to be done as we reboot. And Councilwoman Dawson will also serve as the town representative for, but,
Yeah.
just to, because each of us generally serves on various boards. Mary's on the chamber, I'm on Travel Brooklyn Springs. So we do, that way we're able to participate and have more information to share on all the various organizations we belong to.
So, y'all understand?
The committee will
You
invite you to
have to
join,
own
but we
property in
can't
the
appoint
town,
you
right?
as one of the
If you're not a resident of the town, then you
5
should
members.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Um,
So if the
land in the
committee
town.
approaches us and says that we can join, then we will be able to volunteer.
Volunteer,
Yes,
you
and
just
so-
won't be one of the 5 core members
Right.
because of the bylaw.
Difference is the
Yes.
ability to vote.
So
The
that's
5
it.
people that are
Yeah.
the committee, those are the voting ones. Other people that applied that are not in those 5, they can be part, but they
Non-voting
can be
members,
non-voting.
voting members of
Right.
the
Exactly.
organization, yes.
Exactly.
All right. I want you to be okay. I want you to be all right.
Well, I also appreciate you taking the time to explain
Yes,
the
thank you.
parameters of our decision
Of course.
making, so you understand the conclusion we reached.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't just, like, we suffered.
We appreciate the fact that you're here and you're willing to engage the
Yes.
community and help us-
Yeah,
to help
thank
us all move
Absolutely.
forward. We will schedule, Reba, or we should schedule a landmark meeting as soon as possible to just decide on various positions, who's going to take over Ryan as the president of the HLC.
Well, we need to confirm with Ryan that he wants to step aside.
Well,
I
if
think
we
that's
don't hear,
likely the case, but.
if we don't hear from him in the next week, then we have to make the assumption that
Right.
it's not, we're not gonna extend it out. And it's been 6 months, so.
Right.
I'll be reaching out to him.
At which point the committee would only be 4 members, but we still can't.
So it can move forward with the 4 members
Oh, yeah,
and volunteer.
and volunteers.
Perfect.
Yes.
Love that. Great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Shall I make a motion? Okay. I make a motion that we appoint Vince Chinchillo, John Bohr, and Priscilla Jones to the Town of Bath Historic Landmarks Commission. Second.
I have a motion on the floor to add Vince Chinchillo, John Bourne, and Priscilla Jones to the Historic Landmark Commission. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Go for it.
Yay.
Congratulations.
And there's Connie going.
That was very stressful, ladies.
Yeah. This is not a problem we ever.
It's an abundance of riches to have a level of
We
engagement.
don't know how to handle these things.
Good. That's beautiful.
Engagement is important.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, give me some good news. What do you have?
Nothing.
No news is good news.
I'm behaving myself right now.
I'll just be quiet. It's fun. Property use.
Madam Clerk, do you have anything
Yeah,
for property?
we do have one property use request, and that's with One Springs Watershed Association on the 8th of October. The Capen Institute is having a tree pickup in the depot lot. We did get a chance to talk to Kate and finance about our preparations for Apple Butter Festival and using it for parking and like that. So we'll just figure that out. Everybody working with this thing has good sense and like that, and I'll be excited during that time. So in finance committee, we did approve this and I did sign their request.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Kate, I must commend you on this tight application here.
You
Pretty-
would send me back to where they start penmanship if I had.
I like it.
Did you see my handwriting?
Madam Clerk, bring us up to date on finance. please.
Finances, well, we do have a couple bills here, a couple of them are stinkers too. I tell you. We have the Town of Bath bills, and somehow we managed to spend $58,183.90. That's all accounted for, isn't it, Ron?
Indeed it is, and it's, some of that is computer.
No, lots of that is the 2 roads that we paid.
Oh.
They were $35,000 to pave the roads in the town.
They did their usual
Yes.
job.
We also had some of those public safety signs, that we saw some of those invoices there.
Yeah, 10,000 for that, yeah.
What was that for?
So
I
make
will
that
send you an
motion.
email. with all this
A second.
information.
Councilman Hope. I have a motion on the floor to pay the Town of Bath bills in the amount of $58,183.90. Any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Berkeley Springs Waterworks bills, I make the motion to pay $141,346.66.
I'll second.
I have a motion on the floor with a second to pay the Berkeley Springs water bills in the amount of $141,346.66. Any discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the Greenway Cemetery bills in the amount of $2,013.87.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor with a second to pay the Greenway Cemetery bills in the amount of $2,013.87. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Make a motion to pay the North Berkeley Rail Trail bills in the amount of $993.95.
Second.
Running the table tonight, Rick.
What an honor.
Motion on the floor to pay the MVRT committee bills in the amount of $993.95. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Madam. All right, brings us to tree board.
Both of the grants that we have written have been submitted. We haven't heard anything yet, although we should hear something about the community tree grant within the next few days. I had planned a workshop on beginning grant writing for last Wednesday, and I was sick, so we didn't do it. And I'm gonna reschedule as soon as I can find a time that's good for everyone. And the tree board meets tomorrow at 5.
How much is the community tree one? Community?
Mary, you know I don't remember numbers.
Is that the 27,000?
Something like that, yes.
Okay,
And the other one's close to 8.
perfect.
Perfect. Councilwoman Dawson, grants.
We're still in a holding pattern on all incoming, outgoing grants. Next meeting's at October 14th at 4:30.
Thank you. Public safety, chief, can you bring us up to date on our signs and what's going, and on the parking situation on Mercer Street?
Well,
next
as
to
you
the,
can tell, we're keeping our parking
Morgan
community
Messenger.
happy. We're doing our due diligence here, and may everybody at least have one ticket in their life that they can say they have one. You wouldn't think putting a sign in the ground would be difficult, but when you start dealing with, DOH has been extremely helpful.
Oh.
I've burned up a lot of favors there, old favors, but they're working well with me. We're currently waiting for Miss Utility, so we can have a stake in the ground. Well, it's roadway edge, utilities, sewer lines. We don't want to hit something that causes thousands of dollars worth of damage when all we gotta do is make a phone call or send a check.
Plus you're required, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So, we have, one ready to install, somewhat, as long as we get the starter post in the ground, and the second one is just got our first part of the poles here. So the sign's not here yet, but, we're plugging away at it.
That's the one on 522 is where you have to drive the pole in.
No, the one on Martinsburg
On
Road.
Martinsburg Road.
We just paid that invoice for that big old
Okay.
pole.
Okay.
Great.
You know, we keep everything else going, court hearings and stuff like that, in the state court. Have a couple of those big ones coming up, but, that's just doing business. And, just trying to keep the public safety committee and the mayor happy. Answering calls.
Okay.
You know how the mayor knows he's happy? My wife tells me I am. So Chief, I'm very happy today. So good work, Chief. Thank you. And again, we're going to use technology to improve public safety and also to make our lives a little bit easier, to protect our law enforcement officers and our parking enforcement officers as well. And I continue to partner well and collaborate with the Morgan County Sheriff's Office and with the West Virginia State Police. We also went to the Blue Mass at St. Vincent's Church, celebrated Father. Folks did a great job in acknowledging the law enforcement professionals that were there and the risk that they take to protect us all. So it was a really good evening. Thank you. It was very nice. Thank you to the church for hosting that event. Great. Cemetery.
I have something for you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
We did not mow last week because it had been so dry, so we have one more mowing. We're going to wait until after we've had a rain, and then he will do that last mow to have it trimmed down for the winter.
Very good. He's done a great job.
I sent him a text last week or 2 weeks ago, just, I said, you're not gonna respond, you just thank him for the job and taking this on. And committing to a 3-year thing with no increases, we're lucky we have it.
Pretty good, yes.
And again, I mean, it looks nice, it is our responsibility, it is unusual, that we do have 3 cemeteries to maintain for a town of 800 people, so, but it is our responsibility moving forward, we'll do the best we can to keep it looking the way it should look, and, it's a big financial commitment.
Well, and let me tell you, there are people in the foundation, the maintenance with previous councilman Dave O'Connell has really dug into the cemetery history. And so I'll be giving him what the DAR gave us, the list of names, but he is digging into I shouldn't say that in the cemetery. Into the Civil War soldiers and who died up there and like that. And so there are other interest avenues coming into the cemetery, which is very nice to see. The tree board's been always active up there with their work, but now history does tell the stories of those folks that are up there because they built the town. So it's very, very encouraged.
And if I may add, if we received a larger grant, we will be able to identify heritage trees. And it's possible some of those heritage trees have been there for a very long time, and they've sort of been sentinels over the people who did so much to make the town what it is.
That's right. So, good stuff.
That is good stuff. Councilman Weber, what do we have?
Public Works. Just to follow up what Peter said as far as the Potomac Edison and the lamps, it's supposed to be in these 2 weeks. I don't believe it's been done yet, but we're meeting on Thursday just to make sure that we're on the same page as far as what we expect from Potomac Edison. But they seem to be with us on this one, so we'll wait and see once they start. The paving on Mercer Street and Market Street were done last week. The guys did their usual commendable job. The next things on the horizon for next year, we've already burst our bubble here for this year, is to do College Street from Green to Ewing, up that whole hill. The old German cemetery should be finished by then. And we're going to pave the part by
Lot 12.
By lot 12 and the other around the corner from there out to 9. Once they're done doing their work for that, so. And then North Green from Fairfax to Independence, that's the third one for next year. We're going to be talking Thursday about seriously investigating purchasing a new garbage truck because we're just spending way too much
Oh, you mean
money.
the Berkeley Springs truck, sponsored by?
It's gonna have a logo on the side.
It's
That's
crazy.
worth every penny of $100,000.
Next Tuesday, we have another street sweeper coming with a demonstration. We're gonna have them do
Oh,
the
come
other,
on now.
the other side of the street, so we'll work on that.
Be strategic.
The next thing for the one block at a time is on the 23rd of September. It was gonna be Congress Street east from Washington up to Green, but Rodney's gonna be a man down, so he's gonna do the west side first, because it's less ground to cover with one man down, and then the next time,
West of
it'll
Congress
be
Street.
the other one, yeah. East and west.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
And
we need to get over to Independence Street.
Church Street, we're still waiting for a good downpour to see if that one apartment thing is gonna have to put more gravel in the road. But the other thing that I told Greg earlier is, when I was down there today looking at that, there's a part because they had to do water and line work. And the sewer department contracted Dennis Schaefer to do digging on Church down at the end. And there is a nice square that has not been re-asphalted from their digging.
Have you put a white line around it?
No, I didn't, but I'm sure somebody did.
Yeah, because there is.
So there's that, but then in talking to Rodney, three other things that were done with Public Service District. There is the one on Church, there's one on Rockwell, and there's 2 on Ewing. Just that they have done the work to hook up pipes and stuff, then they're digging, but then they don't re-macadam what they've dug up out of the road.
They're supposed to, yes.
Yeah.
I suppose, and it needs to be done before winter, because once you get all that stuff going down underneath the road, then you've got
Who
major
should do it?
issues.
Rick, who should be doing that?
Well, this is all the responsibility of the
Them.
Warm Springs
When
PSD.
they do their work, they're
This is
supposed
not,
to.
this is not a town of Bath.
No, it's not.
Understood.
We will,
And that is all that I've got.
thank you. I mean, this is just us collaborating with, Warm Springs. I'll speak with Scott Crumpleton. We'll send him a letter.
Yeah, I don't
Do we have
think
any,
it'll be an issue.
yeah, do we have any photographs or anything? On any of this?
I don't, Rodney might.
So church, you got two on you?
2 on Ewing,
Yeah.
1 on Church, 1 on Rockwell.
Okay. What part of Rockwell?
I'm not sure. Rodney just called me because today after he stopped to make sure he did.
Oh, Rockwell.
It's down there by Hill Street.
Hilltop Street in Rockville, Glen Glade.
Okay, you know where it is.
Yeah, well, the neighbors are complaining.
Okay, can you ask Rodney to
Yeah,
take pictures
it's a big-
for that?
Mhm.
Someone take pictures.
I got it.
Okay.
And that way, I just want
You can keep
to, I just
that.
want to attach that in the letter to Scott Crumpleton.
Tell him the things that we discussed yesterday. He'll have the record of it. Okay, I'm good.
I'll take care of that. All right, Ryan, ordinance?
Nothing new to report on ordinance. Next meeting this Thursday, to accommodate scheduling, moving from 4 to 3:30.
There's a couple pieces of ordinance that we need to review as it relates to sidewalks. and-
Right.
We do have some hardship cases in town where we really have to look at some sidewalk repair. On the agenda. Councilwoman Hickey, Waterworks?
Thanks, Greg. So we have a meeting next week on the 24th at 4 o'clock here at Town Hall. And at that meeting, our engineering crew will be there with the final report to the water plant. We received a preliminary report with some sneak preview data points at our last meeting this month. And the final report will be shared with us then, along with the recommendations for action. This is a lot because our water plant is in a very diminished state, just in terms of aging infrastructure and things like that. And so our options are going to be repair and restore, or even possibly needing to construct a brand new plant. So these are big questions. They also have big price tags. And with these professional engineering reports, I now have the source document I need to share with any grantor to say, it's not just what I think we need. This report prepared by engineers says this is what we need and this is how much it costs. So that meeting is, again, it's next Wednesday, the 24th. And we look forward to hearing them report out on the work that they've been doing since January. And then it will be our work to decide what we're going to do about all that and what our course of action is to put together a funding package and a plan, an action plan for shoring up our water utilities. So big business there. And then I'm going to stand up for a minute because I just want everyone to notice these shirts that the entire town council is wearing today. And these shirts were, thank you, Scott Cullinan. He's not here, but he was a tireless volunteer and will continue to volunteer. He's just not going to head up the Bath 250. This is all about all the celebratory events that we are planning for leading up to December 6th, 2026, which is the town of Bath's 250th anniversary. These shirts are available for purchase, I'd like to add, for $15. I'm keeping
Buy
the
two-
merch
two for
in my
30.
car, so if you see me, I've got the merch available to sell you. So anyway, I just want, this is our way of visually calling attention to something that's very exciting as a milestone in our town.
Yeah.
And we are looking forward to sharing more detail about the many events that we are planning to celebrate.
Thank you, Mary. And again, every point Mary made is really, really important at this point because I mean, we are certainly at an inflection point and an intersection where development and the needs of the states and our responsibility to our water customers and the folks that live in this town. Some parts were aligned with the state, other parts we are not are not aligned, and everyone should be weighing in and having concerns about water. We have one public water source in the entire county, just one. And it sits down here, and the demands on it are heavy, and they're increasing by the day. It's only going to take a couple industrial type accounts to really tap that water to the point where
We're at capacity.
we're already close to capacity as it is. And, you know, when the expectation is to potentially double the amount of water that we're producing and distributing, that means you're going to have growth. And the thing about growth is there's growth you want and there's growth you do not want.
And it's not about the amount of water that comes out of that spring and flows. It's about the amount we can pump and
Filter,
produce, and
Filter.
filter and put out.
Right.
And that plant will do so much. The rest of it goes down to, the Potomac. But that's, there are people who think, oh, you can take X amount. Well, yeah, but we can't run it through the things that we have to
If we
do.
didn't have to filter the water, we could pump 1 million gallons a day. But since we have, we're required to, it cuts it down to about 500,000 gallons, maybe a little bit less, depending on operationally, are you running your plant for 20 hours or 24 hours? These are really serious things, and this is a generational issue. And this is probably the largest one-time expenditure in the history of the town, looking at what's going to be needed for the plant. We're exceeding the original plant that was done years ago when Susan's watching. We want everybody to weigh in. It's important that everybody cares about what is happening here. As mayor, I have my own concerns. I'm a fan of restoration, not necessarily development. We have a lot of property that could be restored and reused and repurposed that already has public utilities. We have sewer, we have water, as opposed to having to run water, all over the county to provide water to something we don't want. And again, I speak with the mayor of the town of Davis, and what happened down in Davis is a cautionary tale for everyone. They're dropping a data center right next to their town.
And they didn't want it.
And they didn't know. That's the worst part. And unknowingly dropping that there. So these are the things that, do I think that could happen? I'm not sure. Again, it's all about the water and power are the important pieces. Don't have anyone that would like to speak before council this evening, before we adjourn? Dan, would you like to add anything?
Just observing this.
Greg, I really appreciate you lifting up how important this water conversation is and who all the stakeholders are. It really is important for all of us to be paying attention to that. And it's really important for everyone to understand that the ultimate solution is not going to be unilaterally the town of Bath solving it. This is a collaborative at multi-levels of government. This is county, this is state, this is federal money. Some combination of all of those buckets is what's going to get us over the top and allow us to restore or rebuild a water plant. And those are big numbers and lots of stakeholders, and we're doing the very best that we can to achieve that outcome.
There's a difference between doing everything you can and everything you should.
Right.
It's yes, should doing something with the water plant absolutely critical. Do you have the ability? Can you service $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month in interest payment?
Which would what it would be if we're trying to do this as a party of one instead of collaboratively with county, state, and federal stakeholders at the table with us, fully appreciating and invested in the outcome of water from which all development flows. We know this. So, it is our problem, but the solution is multi-level in terms of.
We will be very transparent with those discussions. So every time you pursue grants and different things, whether it's the IDDC or whatever it might be, you say yes to something, you say no to something else. It's always not doing these two things equally when you're tying up all your resources. And we have 3 major projects at one time. We have the plant, we have the 522 South Extension, and we have the U.S. Silica line, plus day-to-day operations and fixing leaks and doing all those things. So the staff perform that. So the demands are very, very high. And again, I just want to share that information so that you can understand that I'm just part of the process as we move forward with this.
But we got this. It's gonna be okay. We got it.
You heard it first from Susan Webster. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I get a t-shirt picture for the Morgan
Oh, yeah.
Messenger?
Yeah.
Another
T-shirt.
picture.
How about a t-shirt?